Sir, you're charged with especially aggravated kidnapping. You're also charged with aggravated assault, and you're charged with theft of a firearm worth less than $2,500.
You're talking about stuff that is not relevant.
Hello and welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. I am the recovery addict, and boy do I have a case for you today.
Why is the dog chewing on this guy?
I think they have got the wrong guy there.
Got the wrong guy, and the dog was biting him.
He roughing him up quite a bit. There's a lawsuit.
9 out of 10 judges prefer watching the Recovery Addict live stream in their courtroom.
The fireworks are not done.
Now we're getting commentary on the case.
Dahil hihiyang nagam, for Trump's sake.
Alrighty, welcome back. That was a short break. It was incredibly short. So short that I did not get any lunch. Oh man, it's going to be good though. We'll make it. I'll survive. I could probably stand missing a lunch or two and be all right. Oh, that's not it. That's not it. There we go. The third time's the charm. Big congratulations goes out to Erica843. I believe this is a first-time offender. I mean, a first-time winner for you, Erica, winning the internet. Congratulations. You came in first in chat right before our internet CEO, Sharon McDonald. And you managed to fit an emoji in there first as well. So the congratulations, Erica. The prize for being first in chat is that everything IP-related is given to you for the day, for the rest of the day. Until we go live again, you are responsible for everything IP-related worldwide. So that means the entire internet, everybody's internet connection, everything they have connected to the internet, whether it's their phone, their tablet, their computer, their television. You just have the responsibility of making sure all of it works properly. It's no small task, but I'm sure you're up for it. So congratulations. We'll go ahead and ship the internet off to you, Erica. Congratulations on that big win. It is wonderful. Let's see. We also have Alicia C. with a blue courthouse by your name. Thank you so much, Alicia, for the continued support of the channel as well. And Cachette just came in big time with 5 memberships. Look at that. Starting off the afternoon right. Sin Delicious, Artie Bay, JR EPTX, Picky, and Gillen McNally, all gifted memberships courtesy of Cachette's generous donation. Thank you very much, Cachette, and congratulations to the winners. This is a great day. We're hoping today will be a little more exciting than this morning was. This morning was not as exciting as we thought it may be. We might need to have a different attorney question witnesses from now on. Oh, wow. New Bunk Foss also gifted 5 memberships. Thank you very much. Let's see if there's people here to receive it. Looks like Erica843, our internet winner for the day, wins a membership. Congratulations. Gabby Gabs, SW, Sandra Stevens, and Sioban all gifted memberships. Lots of S names in there. But congratulations, Erica843. You won the internet and a membership on the same day. Good things happen. New Bunk Foss, thank you. Thank you very much. 5-month membership. Message from Abby in UK. Lurking, this is the best true crime channel. Thank you, Abby. Thank you very much. Good to have you. You're fantastic. Love that you're here. And fantastic mod as well. Let's see. We have scarf down our lunch. Shells is there. Seated in the courtroom, we have Shells. Let's see. We actually have. Let's take this one. That'll be better. There we go. We have Shells in the courthouse right now. Lee is there as well. I think Pants is going to be returning if he can stay awake. So we have 3 addict observers there in the courthouse that are keeping an eye on what's happening there, letting us know. So if you have any questions, obviously this New Hampshire does it a little differently. So I believe Lee's even able to monitor chat a little bit as he's in court. And still be in compliance with the judge's instructions. So that is awesome. So if you have any questions, make sure you reach out to either me or to them with the question. They might be able to answer the question of what they can see during court happening at that time. So let's see. We have SW says, "Whoa, thank you so much for this gift membership. That's awesome, SW. Thank you for being here. We are having a great day. It is Monday. It's been a good weekend. We have lots of fun stuff coming up. It's going to be fantastic. Pauline, thank you as well for your continued support of the channel. Welcome to the gallery. Do take your seat. It's still reserved for you. We've held it for you. All right, we have.
Is that correct?
That's correct. We've held that. Let's see. Most generous, kind people on this channel. We have the most amazing community here. We really do. Front row stretch really, really far by now. The front row is it's like Santa's toy bag. There's always room for all the good boys and girls toys in Santa's toy bag, and the front row has room for all the members. It's a mystery, but it works. We don't have to know how it works. It just does. New Hampshire seems cool, says Ivan. I mean, it's not the utopian paradise of Wisconsin, but nowhere is.
You're talking about stuff that is not relevant.
Yep. Thank you, Senator Stevens. Good to have you here. Candy Cane, welcome. All right. Hello from Maine, says he's the guy, says Gary. Is it Jerry or Gary? I think it's Gary.
For the record, I don't consent to that name.
You have to take advantage of breaks, cleaning out and washing down the fridge, since I sit in front of a TV all day watching you. Tony, I sit here. I need to think of, I need to do something a little more active with myself when I'm not sitting here. Otherwise, I will never be able to get back up from this chair. It is so comfortable, and I love that my kids got it for me, but it is so, so comfy. Let's see. Always wanted to visit Maine, one of the few states I've never been in. The only thing I know about Maine is they have lobsters. And it's a little chilly. That's all I know. I probably need to visit as well, because I'm sure they have more. I mean, I'm sure they've got some lighthouses as well that are worth the trip all by themselves. I was listening to YouTube music on random, and it started playing the lovely band "Say No to Drugs." Yes, it is paying attention to you for sure. Yes, the repetitive questioning of this
talking about stuff that is not relevant.
of this defense attorney. It seems that all the material we've covered over and over and over, they just go back and continue to cover. She asks every question that the prosecution asked, which she can do on cross. It's not asked and answered until she asks it again, and then her style is just to go so slowly through this. Don C, watching in bed, nice and comfy. Yeah, pull the comforter up and snuggle up with the screen. It's good to have you here. Friday night stream was so great. Thank you, Content Angel. That was a fun podcast. If you caught that live or on replay, Thomas did a great job interviewing me, and you guys asked some great questions. So hopefully that was a little insightful for you. I loved it. It was a lot of fun. Lobster is so cheap up there that my lobster-loving dad got sick of it, says Cindy's crazy. Yeah, it's like when you're tired of lobster, you order chicken, and that's the spendy thing to order. The front row is like Doctor Who's TARDIS. It's bigger on the inside than the outside. Yeah, there's what's the other movie about that haunted house that's measures bigger on the inside than the outside? That's how it works. It's the same principle at play. Let's see. We're going to be listening to a different attorney, and I think, Tower Hill Girl, I think what happens is when this defense attorney doesn't have anything to corner this witness on, that's when she asks all questions that just go on forever, like she's in a high school debate class and the person who talks most wins. I think that's what she's doing. But if she doesn't have anything to really corner them on or call them out on, that's when she just gets verbose. So hopefully she'll have something on some of these next witnesses, and it can be more confrontational than just affirming previous statements. Okay. I've heard in Maine, you're not local until you're 3 generations deep. Oh, it's awesome that there are areas where generation after generation people want to stay there and just love it. I like that people are true to their roots there. Lived in Maine for 4 years in Portland. Miss it. The Portland headlight is not to be missed if you like lighthouses and sea cliffs. I'm not as big on the sea cliffs. I'm more for the beach because it's easier to metal detect beaches than sea cliffs. Let's see. Obsessed with the Truth says, I realized what you were talking about helped the murder trial. I looked up. Police say Harmony was killed in December, and they have biological material from the unit. But Kayla said 11/25 they were evicted. So I think that might be it. She might be. I think you're right. Obsessed with Truth. She might be trying to set up to have some testimony to be able to refer to in the murder trial, which is the bigger one of the two. Firearms versus murder. Maine lobster is rare this season, as we've had bans on fishing to help save right whales in the area. White whales. Dallas-born, Boston-bred. There is I think he's a TikToker. I think he's on TikTok. There's a kid, and he looks like he's 12 years old, but he runs his own lobster fishing boat. Or no, it's crabs. That's right. He does crab. I was thinking he was doing lobster for some reason, but I love the guys that do a live stream of their fishing, and they catch either crabs or lobsters, and they're just hauling in the pots and checking them constantly. So that's a lot of fun. Anyway, I get lost watching those streams. Let's see. Lee is here. Lee's seated. Shells is there. I think Pants is going to be back in the courtroom. Britta, most comfy seat in the courtroom. Favorite place I've ever lived, for real. BZ, you're in Maine as well? Yeah, there it is. Okay. I would have loved to live in Maine. And I'll tell you, the reason why I wanted to live in Maine is because I wanted to, for a long time, I've just had this desire to have a sugar shack and do maple syrup, harvesting, collecting, boiling down. The idea of just having a little wood-fired burner boiling off the sap to make maple syrup, and that's the smell in the air, and the lines running the sap back to the... Yeah, that just intrigues me. My wife, however, is not a fan of the cold. And you don't get maple syrup in areas where there's no cold. You sort of have to have the cold. It's just how the trees work. So it may never be. But I would have loved to get a little property with a stand of sugar maples on it. Most lobsters here this season are coming from Canada.
Is that correct?
That's correct. Mary Murphy, I was watching a podcast on Saturday morning. It was great, as always. Thank you, Mary. I appreciate that. Let's see. Spot prawns are awesome. You know what I need to do? Here in North Carolina, we have shrimp that are available, and you can catch them in the like the Pamlico Sound. The sound is massive. It's huge. But I was on the ocean side of the Sound because we have that barrier islands there on the Outer Banks, and I was on the Outer Banks just walking along at night with a flashlight. Last year I was out camping, and you can see the shrimp just on the shoreline. You can see their eyes because they just reflect. You hold your light up by your head, like by your eyes, because the shrimp reflect light right back to you, and you can see these just massive shrimp just all over the place. You can catch them with like a cast net.
Is
People
that
do
correct?
it for bait. Yep, this is correct. It's all true. Why would I lie to you? Who said that? Is that correct? Eileen, yes, it's true, of course. I watch those on TikTok, catching lobsters and crabs. Very educational how they do that. It's such a system. It's so fast. Pauline, 5-month membership. It looks like they're standing up for the jury or the judge right now, so we might be coming back to court any moment now. Let me... turn that off, turn this on. There we go. I think we're getting close. First time I've ever been denied a comment. Dallas-born, Boston-bred, what happened? You were denied a comment? Did it say you talked too much? Most lobsters here coming from Canada. I didn't see a denied comment from you, but maybe it was... something else. Maybe I misunderstood. Is he on trial just for stealing guns? Yes. For this court. He also has pending charges for murder. Rudy Patootie, thanks for gifting a membership. Looks like we have a police wearing his badge on his shirt, on a necklace. Nice maroon shirt. I like the color choice. It's a strong outfit, detective. I think he's a detective.
The testimony you're about to provide will be the truth and the whole truth under the pains and penalties of perjury?
I do.
Okay. You can have a seat and make yourself comfortable. Can you start by stating and spelling your name for the record?
Detective Adam Bergeron Rosa, BERGERON-ROSA.
Thank you. And how are you presently employed?
Detective with the Manchester Police Department.
How long have you been a detective with the Manchester Police Department?
Since September of 2017.
And what is your current assignment?
Detective.
Are you in a particular unit?
I primarily do burglaries and property crimes.
And what are your duties and responsibilities as a detective with the Manchester Police Department?
To investigate cases that need further attention within the jurisdiction of Manchester, to include interviewing suspects, witnesses, involved parties.
Is that correct?
Sorry.
Managing crime scenes, collecting physical evidence, and obtaining video and reviewing that video.
We're still expecting
and
Ish
to be
and
a
that witness
detective
today.
with the Manchester Police Department, does that require any specialized training or experience?
I have received specialized training and experience, yes.
And can you tell us what that is?
I went to 40-hour-a-week homicide school and crime scene processing, training in interview and interrogation, and forensic statement analysis, about 80 hours of fingerprint processing and collection, and crime scene photography, about well over 300 hours of other training.
And is that the training that you just described, is that continuing training?
It always continues.
How long have you been involved with law enforcement?
At the end of November, it will be 15 years.
And how long have you been a detective?
6.
Prior to the 6 years as a detective, what were your duties?
I was a patrol officer
And
for the previous 9.
And for the previous 9, what agency or organization was that with?
Manchester.
Did you graduate from the New Hampshire Police Academy?
I did.
When did you graduate?
April of 2009.
Can you please describe your role and involvement in this case?
So on January 5th of 2022, I was asked by my superiors to use a program called Leads Online to look up pawn activity for Adam Montgomery, Kayla Montgomery, and Kelsey Small.
And you just mentioned Leads Online.
Yes.
What is Leads Online?
So it's a law enforcement pawn database that we have access to monitor secondhand transactions with pawn shops, jewelry stores, and eco ATMs.
Without warrants?
Are you currently a liaison between the Manchester Police Department and Leads Online?
I am.
How long have you been in that role?
Probably 4 years.
I don't like the idea that they just have access to.
And I think you
something without a
mentioned you were
warrant.
asked to track information related to Kelsey Small.
Yes.
And so how does that work?
So I go on to the program, Leads Online, and I plug in the name, date of birth, whatever information that I have. And there's results that come up, whether through Sundexing or a direct match, and it shows their secondhand pawn transaction in history, what item that they sold. You have to use a valid photo ID to do so, so you get you're privileged to that, a picture of the seller as they were that day, and what company or business received that item and sold, provided the seller cash for the item.
Did your search with respect to Kelsey Small yield results?
Yes, it did.
Did you review the results?
I did.
If you saw them today, would you recognize them?
I would.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
Yes.
Apparently, there's an objection to this this data, the output. Let's see, Eddie. Let me catch up What are you saying here? Mayla's mom, I know she's missing. They are two very different issues. Has nothing to do with a police charge. It's a financial charge. I think that might be a different thing. Don't waste your time pursuing. I've worked alongside recovery for 21 years. Worst case tax return intercept. Jail doesn't even occur for employees that commit fraud. I think you're still talking about the benefits charge, the welfare fraud. The lawyer is so tall. He was the one that was leading the run chasing after Kim Frayne last week when she left at lunchtime and said, I'm going to work. I'm out of here. I don't have time for this. And the judge said, inform her what the penalty would be if she doesn't return. He was chasing her down the road, trying to get her to stop. If you guys saw that video, it was out on, I think it was out on Twitter. I think Court TV showed it as well. It was one of their cameramen that caught it. Let's see. My husband was a dispatcher, and the local pawn shops had to turn in copies of their sales and purchases to the police department. That's what I don't like. I am all for the police being able to get subpoenas and get information. But when it's a private company that's doing business, regulating it to the point where you have access to all their employees, their customer information, I just don't like that. I'm a freedom guy. I like the freedom. I'm not the guy that says, well, if you don't have anything, didn't do anything wrong, then you have nothing to hide. I'm like, no. Taking a right from someone is taking a right from everybody, and I like to be secure in my papers. I like to not have to show my papers at the border when I'm crossing from one city to another, like they did in Germany. Yeah. Anyway, you're getting me riled up.
Detective Bergeron Rose, I'm handing you what's been marked for identification as States Exhibits 46A through E, and I'm just going to ask you to look through those and describe, or just look through those and look up.
These are certified records of those transactions from EcoATM.
Okay, and are those true and correct copies?
Yes, they are.
And Your Honor, at this point, I move to strike the ID and mark this full.
Any objection, other than the one at the bench? Subject to the one that's been overruled. The ID may be stricken, and it's entered as a full exhibit.
Subject to the objection that's been overruled, we're going to proceed. How do you be subject to one that's been overruled?
Detective Bergeron Rosie, you mentioned receiving the records that you just looked at. What did you do next in your investigation?
Well, after finding those transactions, we want those items for the investigation that we're conducting. And so I called EcoATM to facilitate obtaining those from the company.
I'm just going to ask you to please keep your voice up. It's a big room, and all the jurors need to be able to hear you.
Okay.
Thank you.
So if I heard you correctly, you said you wanted those items?
Yes, for the investigation.
The records that you just looked at, did they contain evidence of sale transactions?
Yes, they did.
Do you know what those transactions were related to?
The seller was Kelsey Small, and it contained 4 items. One being a Samsung Galaxy 12. The second being a Samsung Galaxy A01 phone, a Samsung tablet, and then a Alcatel cell phone. And they were sold to the EcoATM Koisk on December 30th of 2021.
Did he just call it a Koisk?
When you say you wanted those items for your
kiosk
investigation, those are the items that you're referring to?
Those specific ones, yes.
I heard Koisk.
Did you collect those items?
I did.
When you collect evidence as a detective, how do you log it?
Normal practice is your initials 1 through however far you go.
And I think you had mentioned a Samsung cell phone A01 cell phone. Do you remember how you identified that item?
ABR4.
What was your next step in your part in this investigation?
Well, then I then contacted, during this whole process, I contacted EcoATM and requested permission in their policy on downloading the contents of those cell phones.
Did they consent to the search of those cell phone or the items that were seized?
Yes, they did.
Searching cell phones, is that something that you do as a detective?
Not me personally, no.
Did you hand those items off to someone else?
I did, to Detective Krozik.
Did you take additional steps during your part in this investigation?
I did.
And can you tell the jury what that was?
So this Eco ATM, this POIS kiosk, was in Walmart at 725 Gold Street in Manchester. So it's in the customer service center, and that's monitored by Walmart Video. So I requested the video from the loss prevention officer, Mike Doby, of those transactions when they were occurring for the investigation.
And those records that you looked at, was there a date on those records?
Yes, December 30th, 2021.
Did you obtain the footage from Walmart from December 30th of 2021 for that relevant time period?
Yes, I did.
And did you log that into evidence?
I did.
What did you log it into evidence as?
ABR 2.
If I could have just a moment.
Thank you, Detective.
Your Honor, I pass the witness.
It should be pretty quick. Oh. This is a picture of one of the phones. They pawned their phones.
I'm going to show you, sorry, can't get rid of it. A copy of what has been marked State's Exhibit for ID 20. Tell me what that is?
That is the Samsung A01 cell phone packaging, ABR 4.
Okay, that might have been a bad question. Is that the packaging?
Cameraman says we're
for a
done
piece
watching
of
for the day.
evidence?
Oh, yes, yeah, that's what we do.
Is that what you packaged it in?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so, and which piece of evidence? I know that you said it.
There we go.
Oh, this is the Samsung Galaxy Model A01 cell phone.
I'd move to strike the ID, Your Honor.
Any objection?
No objection.
All right, the ID is stricken.
And the jury's going to have a copy of this back with them. But the packaging that you have this in is a yellow,
It's a manila envelope.
but it has like insulation, the bubbles inside, so it's not just a flat envelope.
Oh, yes, yes, it does.
Padded.
Yep.
Padded
And then
envelope.
the top, there is a red thing.
That's
Can you tell the
evidence
jury
tape.
what that is?
Evidence tape.
Okay, we were talking at the same time, so let's try and avoid it, okay? So essentially,
You were
you
going like
take an
this,
item
and he says,
that you've collected for evidence, put it in an envelope, and close the envelope, and then put this red tape on top, right?
Right.
And the reason that you do it is that if somebody tries to get inside that envelope that you have put the evidence in, you'll know it, right?
Yes, I will.
Because to get inside, they'll either have to rip the envelope or rip the tape, right?
Correct.
And so when you package something and you have the tape where you put it in to seal that off, if somebody's going to open a piece of evidence, they generally leave that tape alone and open the envelope somewhere else, right?
Depends on the person.
Okay. So one way to do it is to, if you want to get access to the cell phone, instead of going through where you have the red tape on top, somebody might cut an entry along the side and take the item of evidence out of the package that way, right?
It's within the realm of possibilities.
Okay. And you, when somebody, however they do it, when they put an item of evidence back in its packaging, they tape up the area that they opened up, right?
Of course.
And they put their initials and the date when that happens, right?
Yes.
So that from the packaging alone, you can tell a lot about how many times an item has been handled, opened up, right?
Correct.
The dates, because the dates are on the each piece of tape, right?
Yep.
And the person who went in, right?
Yes.
Okay. And that is one of the ways that you keep track of evidence, right?
Yes.
to make sure that nobody's gone inside and tampered with it.
Mhm.
Because you want to keep that piece of evidence from the moment it comes into your possession as clean as possible till the point that it may or may not be used in court, right?
Correct.
And
Got a
that if
prediction.
there is something that is changed in that piece of evidence, it is identified all along the way so it can be explained in court what has changed.
Chain of custody.
There's
Okay.
another piece of
Thank
evidence
you.
where that wasn't followed. So we're setting that up with this one where it was followed.
Yes, you may step down.
Thank you.
This witness is excused.
That's the only thing I could think of. She might be setting up for down the road where there's a custody issue or a chain of custody issue with some evidence. But it's painful.
At this time, the state will call Detective Lou Crossick to the stand, please.
Another detective coming up. We know Ish is out in the lobby. Detectives are a big fan of the dog chain style
Just watch your step as you take the witness. Good afternoon, sir. Just be careful going around.
necklace badge holder.
Thank you, sir.
I have one of those. It's 100 feet long.
Raise your
I'll show
right
you in a minute.
You solemnly swear the testimony that you will give this jury will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Help you God.
I do.
Thank you. Please feel free to have a seat. Excuse me just a minute to take a moment and make sure that this is properly set up. There we go. Thank you. I apologize for the delay. Detective, since we're being recorded here today, would you please state your full name, spelling both your first and your last name for the record?
Louis Krausick, K-L-O-U-I-S-K-R-A-W-C-Z-Y-K.
And Detective Krausick, where are you currently employed?
The Manchester Police Department,
How long have you been working with them?
since 2001.
And are you a full-time certified officer with them?
Yes.
And how long, since 2001 or before?
2003, I became certified.
2003. Okay, thank you. Did you attend the New Hampshire State Police Training Academy and for a full-time academy class?
Yes.
And what was your graduating class number on that?
131.
131. What are some of the different duties that you have currently at the Manchester Police Department?
I'm in the cybercrime division as a detective, and I work with electronic evidence.
How long have you been working with different types of electronic evidence?
About 6 years.
Could you talk a little bit with regards to the training that you've had over those 6 years or even before with respect to electronic evidence and also with respect to any training that you've had on searching cellular telephones?
I've had training and certifications through Celebrite, which is one of the main manufacturers of equipment for extractions. I've had a lot of training through the U.S. Secret Service. They have a facility in Alabama that provides training for digital devices. I've also had a lot of classes through magnet forensics and some forensic certifications.
It's 100 feet long and it's magic. I'll show you later.
Do you still attend regular training sessions to keep up to date with the latest practices in technology?
Yes, to my wife's chagrin.
Okay. And as part of your work with the Manchester Police Department, do you conduct data extractions from cell phones?
Yes.
Over the years, approximately, if you could even give us a number, how many different cell phones have you extracted data from?
I'd say it's in the thousands.
In the thousands?
Yes.
In that case, I'd like to ask you about cell phones in general, and if you could kind of educate all of us here in the room a little bit. When it comes to an identifier for a cell phone, what is an IMEI number?
It's a unique identifying number that follows a global standard, and it's unique to an individual device, so the carriers can identify that particular phone.
So, roughly, I mean, how many digits are we talking about in this number?
I think it's 15.
15? Okay. And with regards to that number, you said it is unique. How is it unique? Well, what does a cell phone do with its IMEI number, and how does that information get communicated to, let's say, a cell phone carrier or wireless carrier?
It basically works like a serial number, so it's an individual number for that phone, but it follows a global pattern, so different companies are not reusing the same number. It's always a unique number, unlike a serial number, which a different company can reuse the same number.
Okay.
The carrier, when you're using your phone, can determine what the IMEI number is.
So this phone that I have from the state of New Hampshire, this has its own unique IMEI number?
At least one, yes.
At least one. And is it unique to any phone that's owned by the same person, or is it unique to the handset itself?
It's unique to the handset.
The handset. In connection with the investigation into Adam Montgomery, did you extract data from a cell phone that was provided to you by Detective Adam Bergeron Rosa that was labeled evidence number ABR4?
Yes.
Okay. And that particular cell phone that you received, did that have an IMEI number of 352-082-509-319804?
Yes.
Okay. Generally, how is data extracted from a phone? So you can explain to the jury, how did you get information off this phone? What does it look like? What's the physical process you put it through?
There's two parts. There's hardware and software components, and we have companies that specialize they make devices and software specifically to get evidence from phones. So on a typical phone, I'll plug the phone into a hardware device. The software will copy everything off the phone, and then we have that extraction, the files that come from that, we run it through a second program that figures out what all that stuff is and puts it in a report.
So it basically organizes the information into a report for you?
Yes.
With respect to the extraction from the phone you were given from Detective Adam Bergeron Rosa, the ABR4 cell phone, how did that proceed?
He put in a request to me. I got the phone from evidence, and I plugged into a device we have called the Gray Key that can perform the extraction.
And so the jury understands, how do you physically hook up the phone to this device?
There's ports on the box on the Gray Key itself, and we plug the phone into it using the data port on the phone.
The software Gray Key, is that the hardware or the software, or is it both?
Gray Key is more considered hardware. It's running software, but it just extracts the data from the phone. It doesn't do the interpretation.
Were you able to extract data from the cell phone that was labeled ABR4?
Yes.
Okay. What was done with that data once you extracted it?
Then I use Celebrite, which is software that will make a report. It'll determine what all that data is.
And how does it organize the data for you? If we were using a Celebrite software right now, what would it look like?
It breaks it up into categories. There's a list on the left, like a table of contents, and it'll split it up by the type of data. So there'll be one category for text messages and one for the call log and one for pictures and videos.
Did you save the data and the report that you generated for this phone that was labeled as ABR4?
Yes.
Okay. And how did you save it? What label did you give it?
I believe I gave it LJK5.
What did you do with that information and that report as you've saved it once you made it? Where did it go?
I put the evidence copy into our evidence division, the LJK5, and then I gave a copy to Detective Bergeron Rosa.
Were photographs of the phone taken as part of the extraction process?
Yes.
That's 100 feet of cable or chain right there. Had to stack it back up in the cup.
Do you recognize that photo?
Yes.
Okay, what's that a photo of?
That's a photo of the packaging of the phone before I open it.
This is before you opened it?
Yes.
Did you take this photo or somebody else?
I took that.
You take this photo. Okay. And separate from that, I'd like to show you what's been marked for identification purposes only at this time, State's Exhibit 21. Do you recognize that?
Yes.
Okay. What do you recognize that to be?
That's the backside of the phone, ABR4.
That's the backside of the physical phone itself?
Yes.
Okay. And other than the fact that it's on a larger pieces of paper with a small little red sticker at the bottom, is there any differences to that photo from when you remember seeing that phone before doing your analysis versus when you see it today?
No.
Okay. Your Honor, at this time I would ask for the identification certificate for State's Exhibit 21.
An objection? No, Your Honor. All right, the ID is stricken. It's entered as a full exhibit.
Let's go ahead and take a look again at Exhibit 20 here on the large screen. Do you recognize that to be Exhibit 20 that I just showed you?
Yes.
All right, and I'd like to go ahead and draw your attention to the label that's in the middle of the screen. So did the label itself tell you that this was in fact the phone that was AV or labeled as AV?
Yes.
From that, I'd like to also jump now to State's Exhibit 21 and direct your attention to the screen here. Is this the back of that particular phone, or that you recovered from that envelope?
Yes, it is.
And I'll draw your attention to the lower sticker that's provided here. Do you see the red box on the screen?
Yes.
Okay. We'll zoom into that. Could you read out the IMEI number on this phone?
352-082-5093-19804.
So this is that same phone that we're talking about, this consistent number with an IMEI number that goes back to this particular phone, is that right?
Yes.
Did you review any of the data that you extracted from this phone yourself, or did you do some limited review of that?
Yes.
Did the data extraction process off of this phone also provide information as to whether or not it had been logged into any Facebook Messenger accounts at any time?
Yes, it did.
Can cell phones that have information deleted from them still have relevant information for an investigation?
Yes.
And the jurors are probably already likely aware of Facebook and Facebook Messenger, but just for the record, what is Facebook and how does Facebook Messenger work?
Facebook is a terrible social media app where people can post things and share with their friends and family. Messenger started as being part of the Facebook app, where people could send direct messages to each other. Now they also have a separate app, so you can use it within Facebook or in the separate app.
Returning to the data then that was extracted, or actually I should ask this about Facebook Messenger. The accounts on Facebook Messenger, do they have any specific number or an account ID that is associated with each account that they have, that exists?
Yes.
Returning to the data then extracted from the phone, the same phone that we're seeing here on State's Exhibit 21 on the screen with that IMEI number, were you able to see whether a Facebook Messenger account with the account number of 10000900788-503 was ever logged into that phone or accessed from that phone?
Yes.
And did you look at the user account that was extracted from this phone for that Facebook account number that I just read?
I did.
What was the user account name on the Facebook Messenger account number, the one we just read, that was once logged into this phone?
The account name was Adam Kayla Montgomery.
Adam Kayla Montgomery?
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much, Detective Grosek. I don't have any further questions for you. I believe the defense has only.
Let's see if they talk about him saying that Facebook is terrible.
I'm Caroline Smith. How are you?
Good.
So you have been a detective, I think you said, for 6 years?
I've been in cybercrimes for about 6 years. I was a detective for a couple of years before that.
Okay. So you you were in cybercrimes in 2019?
Yes.
You were in cybercrimes on October and November of 2019?
Yes.
And you did an extraction of a phone for John Sargent in November of 2019. Does that sound right?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay. Well, let me ask you another question or two. And, well, if I showed you a copy of a report, would that help or refresh your recollection?
I believe so.
So it may take a little bit to make the connections here, but I will start with first a copy of a report prepared. Well, can you tell me what this document is?
That looks like a report for a cell phone extraction.
And what's the date prepared by you?
Yes.
And what is the date of that report?
November 4th, 2019.
Okay, so is there a case number on that report?
Yes.
And what is that case number?
19-15480.
19 what?
15480.
Okay. I'm going to show you a series of documents.
Just whatever catches my attention. I generally don't even look to see if they're a member or not. The only ones that get posted automatically are pretty much the super chat ones, but everything else is just
I've actually got a whole bunch of
anybody
documents
who
clipped
says
here,
whatever.
but I think need to show you the first page of that. Do you recognize what that first page is?
It's the first page of report.
Okay. What is the date of that report?
1/20/20.
Date and time report, oh, that's
sorry.
reported, okay. So that is a report on an incident that was reported in 10/22/2019?
Yes.
And what is the case number of that?
19-15480.
Okay, is the case number of the report of an incident that happened 10/22/2019, is that the case number as the extraction report that you did in November of 2019?
Yes.
Okay. And do you remember the name John Sargent?
I do not.
Okay. Do you recall being asked to go back to that report to take location data from that report so that it could be tracked on Google Earth? Do you recall that?
Not specifically for this case, but I can look at the next page if you want me to review it.
Sure. And this was a task that you were given with regard in April of 2022, right?
I don't know. It's
Okay.
not an uncommon thing, so
All right. I'm going to show you a copy of a police report. By the way, who's Detective Grayhill?
as one of the Manchester detectives.
And was he the lead on the case of State versus Adam Montgomery?
No, I don't believe so.
Who's the lead?
There was multiple officers working on it. I don't know who's considered the lead.
Do you recall that he was one of the officers working on it?
A lot of people were working on it, so I don't know the list.
Okay. I'm going to show you a copy of a document, but you did say that Detective Grayhill worked on this case, right?
I couldn't say for sure, but I think it's consistent.
Okay. I'm going to show you a copy of this police report and see if that refreshes your recollection if you were asked to pull out prior extraction on a phone of John Sargent in 2022. Does that refresh your recollection?
I don't remember specifically. This isn't my report, but
Right.
like I said, it's not uncommon for me to do that.
Okay. That you might go to another older case and pull out information that you had already extracted to see if you could find something relevant to the new case.
I get asked to look at the extraction and put it in a different form. I'm not usually investigating the case. I'm just assisting with the technical aspects of it. So the information is already in the report, and I would move it to a different form.
Okay. And in this case, you don't recall if you were asked to look at Jonathan Sargent's phone and see if there was location data on it?
I do that frequently. I just don't know. This is the first time I'm hearing of this in quite a while, so I just don't remember specifically this case.
So back in April of 22, you may have been asked that, but it's just not registering right now. You're not saying yes or no?
I didn't say it's not registering, it's just saying you didn't remember.
Sustained.
It's not you may or may not have been asked to do it. It's something that you don't recall right now.
Not specifically. I don't usually get much into the names of the cases. I just do what they ask for.
Okay. 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 Thank you, then.
Just very briefly, President, you just asked a moment ago about location information on a phone. Could you just describe for the jury what is location information on a phone? What was that question about?
Phones can store location information in a couple different ways. They keep different databases. Sometimes pictures have the location embedded, or they use it for advertising and tracking your phone, and some of that information can be recovered in the extraction.
Sometimes it's recovered, sometimes is it not?
Correct.
Okay. And the information, is that, I know this is going to sound like a stupid question, I apologize, but that's information I imagine that follows the phone rather than follows the owner, correct?
Yes.
Thank you. No further questions, Your Honor.
Anything further? All right, you may step down.
Is it time for ish?
Any objection?
So excuse for the
They would
day
not
for
excuse
sure.
him.
Okay. You may be excused for the day.
Trying to eat my salad, but I also want ish.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would call Detective Brian Olson.
Another detective. Not a bad thing, but we're flying through these. I'm going to go ahead and end the poll here and see how we all view Facebook collectively. It looks like most of us are occasional users. A quarter of us view it as terrible. 12% are indispensable. They're addicts. And 12% also were like, face what?
Standing just for a brief moment. Please raise your right hand. You solemnly swear that the testimony you will give this jury will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Thank you, sir. Please feel free to have a seat. Since we're being recorded here, would you please state your full name, spelling your first and last for the record?
Ryan Olson, RyanOlsen.
And Detective Olson, where are you currently employed?
Currently employed by the Manchester, New Hampshire Police Department.
How long have you been working for Manchester?
Since 2015.
2015.
Yep.
Any law enforcement experience before working for the Manchester Police Department?
Yes, prior I was employed by the Concord, New Hampshire Police Department since 2014.
In 2014. So 1 year in Concord and then Manchester since 2015. Is that
Yes,
right?
sir.
And I take it, are you a full-time certified officer with the Manchester Police Department?
I am.
Since you've been with the Manchester Police Department, what are some of the different work assignments you've had? I'm going to assume that you started in patrol, but if you could kind of go on and tell us about some of the different units that you've been assigned to.
Yeah, so started in patrol, like you said. From there, I was selected into the Special Enforcement Division, which was broken up at that time into two separate units, so the Street Crime Unit and the Special Investigations Unit. Street Crime, I started in Street Crime in 2019. The main job of street crime is just for interdiction stops to cultivate informants. And then around 2021, I went over to Special Investigations Unit, which is long-term drug investigations.
And are there any different units besides those the ones that you get current assignment to? Are there any other units that you serve or that you help the Manchester Police Department with?
Yeah, I'm also currently assigned to the entry team and the breaching unit for the SWAT team.
How long have you been with the SWAT team?
Since 2020.
2020. So you were not on the SWAT team in 2019?
I was not.
Right. In 2019, which one of those units were you working with?
The street crime unit.
And were you ever involved in a search of an apartment at 315 East High Street in Manchester on October 22nd, 2019?
I was.
What was your role in executing that search warrant?
Just to hold on to detained parties as the apartment's getting cleared. Once the apartment was deemed safe by SWAT, searching the apartment.
So this is a SWAT a SWAT operation to be able to get control of the building itself, and then your team goes in, or are you part of theirs?
No, we were strictly outside waiting until it's deemed clear by the SWAT team at that time.
Did you have a court-ordered search warrant before conducting this search?
We did.
All right. And with regards to that, if you could explain, or first of all, were you present when the SWAT team first made entry into the home?
I was outside. Yes.
You were outside. Okay. Why weren't you with them?
Just due to the high threat level that was deemed to be inside. It was strictly for the SWAT team to execute the search warrant based on that. They train for that. That is specifically what the SWAT team trains for.
Okay. And after they made the home secure and people were safe, at that point, what were you assigned to do?
At that point, I was assigned to search the residence. I was tasked with searching a bedroom on the east side, inside of the apartment.
On the east side of the apartment?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is October 22nd, 2019. I'd like to go ahead and show you state exhibits 22, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. Just a minute. Your Honor, I understand that there is no objection. The state is no objection from the defendant. We're going to ask that the state's exhibit 28 through, again, 32 have the identification stricken.
No objection?
No objection.
The ID is stricken. They're entered as full exhibits.
So I'm going to go ahead and show you the same series of exhibits 28 through 32. I want to show them to you individually, and then we'll put them up on the screen in a few minutes, and I'll ask some additional questions.
Okay.
Do you recognize this one first, starting with State's Exhibit 28?
I do.
Okay. What do you recognize that to be?
315 East High Street.
Okay. And based upon this photo, do you know the approximate time that this photo was taken? Now, I don't mean time of day. I just mean whether it was anywhere near the time of your search warrant.
Yeah, that would be after it was deemed safe, most likely, by the SWAT team prior to the actual search by detectives.
I'd like to show you now State's Exhibit 29. What do you recognize that photo to be?
Room E, the bedroom, room E, which is situated on the east side of the apartment.
Is that the bedroom that you searched, bedroom that was labeled E?
It was.
Okay. And if you could explain to the jury, most people don't have letters on the outside of their bedroom doors. How do rooms get certain classifications or numbers, letters, when you're going to do a search like this?
Yeah, so for ease of searching, prior to actually everybody diving in, each detective and searching part of the apartment, each room is given a letter for ease of searching. So I searched room E, so-and-so detective searched room A. Just ease of use for the report, so you're not constantly saying bedroom, east side, in the center of the apartment. You just say room E in your report. It's a lot easier.
Okay. I'm going to show you State's Exhibit Apology. 30, State's Exhibit 30 now. Do you recognize that photo?
I do.
Okay. And what do you recognize that photo to be?
Guns that are situated in the northeast corner of the apartment, or the bedroom.
Was that your bedroom, the bedroom E that we were just talking about?
It was.
And State's Exhibit 31?
That is a Stag Arms firearm, rifle, serial number 57760.
State's Exhibit 32.
And that is a close-up of the serial number along with the make and origin of the firearm.
Okay. I'd like to leave these photos with you. If you can't see the resolution on the screen, please feel free to refer back to these, okay?
Okay.
That being said, I'd like to go ahead and show you State's Exhibit 28 on the big screen. Do you recognize that? Or, I'm sorry, what address do you recognize that to be again?
315 East High.
And we're going to go ahead and zoom in on the front door area. Is that the same door that you entered to be able to do your search?
It was.
And separate from that, going to State's Exhibit 29 now. Tell us what we're looking at here.
So this is room E. This is the bedroom on the east side of the apartment, and is centralized in the apartment just off of the kitchen.
Now, with regards to this particular room, what were the different things that were listed in the search warrant that you were supposed to be looking for?
Drugs, U.S. currency, ledgers, firearms, anything in that nature.
And approximately how much drugs? How much drugs did you find in this home?
I believe there was about 850 grams of crystal methamphetamine, about 56 grams of fentanyl, and some miscellaneous pills along with marijuana.
Did you say almost 850 grams of methamphetamine?
I did.
Okay. During this search, did you find multiple firearms in this bedroom?
Yes, sir, we did.
Okay. Moving on now to State's Exhibit 30. What are we looking at here?
That is the photo of a few firearms in the northeast corner of the apartment.
And I would ask you if you could just step down from the witness stand with the court's permission and just show us where the firearms are in the photo. Just go ahead and point it out. Thank you. Only now turning to State's Exhibit 31.
That is the overview of a Stag Arms rifle that was located in that northeast corner of the same bedroom.
And you read the serial number, I believe, for us before. I'm going to go to State's Exhibit 32. Could you go ahead and read that serial number again?
Yes, it's serial number 57760.
How many other guns did you find in the search of this bedroom?
I believe we located approximately 8 guns. 2 were ultimately identified as BB guns, if I recall.
So 2, so out of the 8, plus this one, so that's what, 6 other?
Yes, sir.
Operable firearms?
Yes, sir.
And you told us again about 850 grams of methamphetamine. Working as an officer of the Manchester Police Department since 2015, you said before you've worked on patrol, you've worked street crimes, you've worked with SIU, you've worked with other things with gangs as well. Do you have familiarity with common and generalized drug purchase amounts?
I do.
Okay. The pounds of methamphetamine seized, 850 grams, is that something that you know to be associated with individual use or with dealing?
No, that is definitely dealing.
And the owner of this particular bedroom, the person who was residing in this bedroom, what was that person's name?
Jonathan Sargent.
Okay. Did you have a description of Jonathan Sargent before you went ahead and conducted this search?
Yes, he was a white male with red hair.
Okay. And do you know if he was ever convicted by any agency for the items that were inside of his room?
Yeah, I believe he was ultimately, or he took a plea deal in federal court. And he's currently incarcerated until 2031 in Greenville, Illinois.
And you said in federal court?
Yes, sir.
So was that matter, do you know if that matter was prosecuted by the United States Department of Justice?
It was.
And do you know, with regards to his conviction, what was his conviction for? Possession or possession? What, if anything, do you know about the charge that he pled guilty to?
I was trafficking with firearms and drugs.
And drugs.
Yes, sir.
Just a moment, please, Your Honor. All right, Detective, thank you very much for your time. I don't have any further questions for you. I believe Attorney Smith will.
Thank you.
I do. My name's Caroline Smith, and I do have some follow-up questions. So John Sargent was arrested the day of the search, right?
Yes, ma'am.
He was arrested on an arrest warrant,
Yes.
right? And the search warrant was prepared prior to going there to his residence on October 22nd.
It was.
And you were a participant member of the street crimes unit, right?
I was in the street crime unit. Yes, ma'am.
And you were, so this was a process that took a little bit of time to gather all the intel on John Sargent, to prepare the arrest warrant and prepare the search warrant and prepare the plan for arresting Mr. Sargent and entering the home.
Yes.
And it was a fair amount of days between the investigation and all of that, right?
Yes.
Probably a week or two from the determination that you were going to arrest Mr. Sargent to actually executing the warrant.
I don't know the exact time frame. I know when you have an investigation, obviously it goes on. For Mr. Sargent, it was controlled buys. And from there, whatever the time was that they said, hey, we have enough, we're going to write the search warrant and the arrest warrant, that's when it was.
Okay. And you said one of his convictions was trafficking in firearms.
Yes.
And one thing that you said on direct was about really 6 guns because 2 were BB guns.
Mm-hmm.
And a substantial amount of ammunition was in there as well, right?
Crystal methamphetamine was a substantial amount. There was ammunition. I can't attest to how much was in there. I don't recall.
Okay, you recall that there was a lot.
That there was ammunition? There was ammunition, yes.
And, sorry, I was almost talking over you. There was ammunition for various types of firearms, right?
I believe so.
Okay. And there were other weapons there as well, right?
Yes.
Brass knuckles,
Yes.
a crossbow,
Yes.
and
Catapult.
different brands of guns.
Slingshot.
Okay.
What other weapons?
So-
Wrong answer's only. What's the other weapon he should have had
There
there?
were several pictures of, and I think you still have them there, taken, those pictures must have been taken on the day of the search, right?
They were.
Okay. And they reveal what some of the items that were recovered, and the stag itself was one of the ones recovered by you.
Yes.
And Mr. Sargent's phone was also recovered.
I believe so, yes, ma'am.
And you were the one that recovered the stag, so I'm going to ask you to take a look at State's Exhibit 33.
Seriously, this guy's got like a pound and almost 2 pounds of
Is
crystal
that
meth, and he's got a couple
stag,
BB guns.
Firearm that you collected?
It should be. I just need to see the serial number to confirm. Might want to take it and flip it.
It's attached to the box.
The serial numbers.
There. Does it look like?
It looks like it, but I'm not, without saying that this, I can't see the serial number, I'm not going to say that that's it.
Sure.
So,
Okay. And
They attach
speaking
them
of
to the serial
serial
number
numbers,
facing
serial
down.
numbers are the way that, oops, my back's to the dirt. Serial numbers are the way that you track a firearm, right?
yes, ma'am.
Because one firearm can look exactly like another one, right?
They could.
And as a matter of fact, most brands look pretty much like, well, models within a brand are expected to look alike, right?
Within the same brand? Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, there's a The gun looked kind of shiny in the picture, and it doesn't look so shiny now. Do you know why?
I believe it was fingerprinted. I'm not sure.
Okay. And so what you're seeing, you believe to be the residue from the fingerprinting process?
I believe so.
Okay. And actually, there's some red tape here that has been cut to allow me to open, or anyone to open this box, right?
The evidence tape?
Uh-huh.
Yes.
And I'd like you to look at this piece of evidence tape. And can you read what the evidence tape says right along there? Right there.
State Police Forensic Lab.
Okay, so it's the forensic lab. And can you read a date? Is this another piece of that tape?
Oh, this one, Forensic Lab?
And then the date that's there.
Well, this one looks to be on regular evidence. This one is the Forensic Lab going this way.
Okay, so the date is not associated with the lab?
Well, it's touching it.
She's
So
wrong.
Okay.
4/12/22.
I think she's wrong again.
And do you know if it was fingerprinted as a result of your investigation into, assuming that it was fingerprinted?
I'm assuming it's fingerprinted, yes, ma'am.
Assuming that it is, do you know if that was in relationship to your investigation into John Sargent?
Yes, but it was not my investigation to John Sargent.
Okay, so that's something that would be done to try and track evidence from the gun itself.
Yes, ma'am.
And
Thanks, Jimmy, 2 times.
another thing that you might want to do is, if you had a suspect, you might want to try getting DNA from the gun to track its movements, in a sense.
You could.
Do you know if it was done in reference to the John Sargent case?
I do not know.
When
Nicole.
you collected that gun,
I think it's YouTube.
did you make any
acting
connection in October 22nd, 2019 to a missing stag AR-15 firearm report from October 3rd regarding the Fran's firearms?
I did not.
Okay. And when you collect a firearm like this, that's a pretty dangerous weapon and is in the hands of somebody who it shouldn't be, right?
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that you might do is put it into NCIC to check the ownership of the firearm, right?
Yes, dispatch would run the serial number to see if it came back as stolen.
Okay. And one of the reasons to do this is maybe if there's an open case about a firearm, you can close the case, but another reason is, was this firearm stolen or did somebody give it away? Because that might be a crime as well, right?
Correct.
And did you participate in any of that sort of activity after you collected the stag firearm?
Yeah, I don't know if I ran it. There's multiple people in the house. It always gets run at some point in time, the serial number, to see if it's through NCIC by dispatch.
Okay. And if you ran the serial number and it came up as a stolen firearm for someone else, that person should get alerted to the location of that police department should be alerted to the fact that this stolen firearm has been found.
I'm sorry, can you?
Sure.
Thank you.
Can you please make sense with your questions?
When you put the serial number of a gun through NCIC,
Mm-hmm.
and you run that, if it comes up as a stolen weapon, then the department involved in the report on the stolen weapon can get advised.
Yes.
And there's a Russell Street in Manchester, right?
There is.
And Hill Street was where you found this gun. Was
East High Street.
High Street, thank you. Is in Manchester, right?
It is.
And you work for the Manchester Police Department, right?
I do.
Okay.
My favorites are anything before 1900. I realized that they had some after, but I just like seeing that 18 on a coin.
I'm going to show you a copy. Can you, off the top of your head, identify the case name that you went and executed that search warrant on?
The case name?
This guy.
The case number for Manchester.
Quizzical
Police
look on his
Department?
face like.
For the search warrant? No, I don't recall.
If
What
I showed you
are you
a
doing?
copy of the report, do you think that might refresh your recollection about the case number?
Yes, 19-015480.
Thank you.
So they recovered this gun in this other investigation, this other bust, a while before. They had it in evidence for a while before they connected it with this.
Detective Olson, you
case.
just read the case number, called it 19-015480. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Just had read a moment ago.
Yes, sir.
Were you able to review the search warrant, specifically that Detective Horn had obtained to make that search at 315 East High Street?
I do not.
Are you aware of whether that search warrant was for one-count sale of a controlled drug versus for trafficking in guns?
I was not aware.
How many different people did you see get escorted outside of that house, or are you aware of that were escorted outside of that house before the search could take place?
There was a good amount of people.
More or less than 10?
Probably right around there.
Right around 10. So thank you very much, Detective Wilson. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. I think, did you say that you found the stag firearm in Jonathan Sargent's room?
Objection, Your Honor, beyond the scope.
Sustained.
Whoa.
You were pointed to a search warrant. Your understanding of the ultimate arrest was trafficking in firearms, right?
That was a conviction.
Okay. And a good amount of people were escorted out of the house. So that was consistent with the information that you had and used to make a plan for safe entry into the house. Was there the fact that there were a lot of people there, right?
I wasn't part of the SWAT team at that time, so I didn't make the plan or what the plan was for all of these people at that time.
Okay. In any event, there were more than one person in the house, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Well said. Will you ask the witness to be excused, please?
All right, you may step down. Any objection to his
Okay.
being excused? No. This witness is excused.
Lawyering is hard, apparently. Please be ish. Please be ish. We've had
If you could
3.
approach, please, Your Honor.
Yes?
Okay, we get a little break. Something's coming up. Something's coming up. It's going to be good. Yes, he's free now. Probably they got progressively better dressed, I think, as we went through the attorneys. That was a good. Their outfits are good, and they're all using these chains, these dog chain badge holders, which are cool. I have one here at my desk that is 100 feet long, and it doesn't have the attachment to connect the two ends. But I bought this a couple of years ago. I think I spent close to $70 on this. I probably way overspent, but it was the only one I could find at the time. But I paid about $70 for it to do a little experiment that lasts just a couple seconds. But it was worth every penny. I do have a video of that, I think, on my channel, if you go far enough back. It's a chain that sort of jumps out of the cup. It looks like it's jumping up before it starts falling. A little chain reaction type thing. Let's see. He's free now. Let's see. Yes, I did eat rabbit food for lunch, and it was delicious. I had I think it was is it a chef salad? This one had ham, hard-boiled egg, cheese, lettuce. I like olives, black olives on it. And I did ranch dressing this time as well. It was tasty, at least the parts I didn't spill on the floor. Now I have to clean the office here as soon as we're done. So Nicole, on your a couple weeks ago, you posted a video of how camping looks and how it actually is in reality.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, sometimes, as I've said before, evidence takes longer to come in than we expect, or it comes in a little more quickly. Today it was a little more quickly than was anticipated.
We're done?
So we are done for today. So I'm going to release you a little bit early today. I'm going to remind you, do not discuss this case, not with each other or with anybody else. Don't look up any witnesses or don't drive by any locations. Don't do any independent research about the law. You will need to decide your verdict based exclusively on the evidence that's presented here at trial and the law as the court will give it to you in its instructions.
Ish is waiting outside.
So, as I had previously told you, we are not going to have trial tomorrow. So you do not need to come tomorrow, but we will start up have you come at 8:45 on Wednesday morning. So 8:45 Wednesday morning, and we will resume the evidence. Again, please make sure to avoid any media, newspaper coverage, online coverage, radio coverage of this case. Give your paper to your neighbors and
is YouTube okay
turn
though?
Off your television. Read a good novel. All right, we will see you all at 8:45 on Wednesday morning for a 9 a.m. start. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for your time and attention.
All right, so Joey.
Wow. Wow. Let's see if there's any business they conduct once the jury's gone. I think we're going to have the plead the fifth guy, maybe. He's no longer in the hallway. Ish has been excused for the day. We may still be here for a bit.
All right.
Come on, don't.
Do you want to take a break? You have a little bit. Very good. All right. So, with regard to Mr. Harju, do you need a transport order?
Harju.
First of all?
Yes, Your Honor. I know we had originally requested, I believe, for I think we had originally requested for today. Canceled that once we knew last week's witnesses had changed, so we would ask for one for tomorrow. I'm sorry, Wednesday. I apologize for Wednesday.
So Mr. Harju.
First thing.
Yes,
first thing Wednesday. He's the one that doesn't want to come from the jail. She's giving an order to compel him. They're going to drag him here if they have to.
There's no Richards issues or anything we need to be aware of with regard to counsel or anything like that?
I know of none, Your Honor.
Richards issues. I'm very ish deprived. I'm going through withdrawal issues. That is, those are our friends Lee and Shells right there. You can see Lee in the shirt, the checkered shirt.
We're just discussing with regards to this. We agree that there is still an issue in terms of whether Mr. Harju wants to come over and testify. But I do not see that there, short of that refusal, that there was some other sort of Richards issue to what his testimony would be. We've had, he has already provided a report, not a report, excuse me, but he did already sit down and speak with investigators. We know the substance of what his statement would be. It would be very brief. It, again, does not need to involve where he is currently residing. That does not need to be brought out in front of the jury in order to ask the following
the appropriate questions. I don't know that you would have some other sort of Richards issue that's there.
I mean, sorry.
We have
There's one previous Class A felony that would be appropriate for counsel to be able to ask him about, but that's a prior conviction for a felony within the last 10 years.
I guess what I'm trying to avoid is what happened with Mr. Bernatchez. And so,
what did happen with him?
At the time we brought him in, it was essentially represented that we didn't think, that counsel didn't think he had could invoke the privilege, but then it turned out, either by agreement or otherwise, that he was not going to testify. So, does anybody know who his lawyer was for whatever his underlying case is?
I do not, Your Honor.
Okay.
I can certainly
What-
file
what-
with the Department of Corrections and find out.
I mean, we would be able to, I don't know if it was from south or from north. But either way, I think we can figure that out.
Sharon.
Knowles is telling me he believes that Mr. Harsh's current charges are out of Nashville.
Okay. So let me just ask, Attorney Smith, do you want to say something? Do you have something to add on this?
Just on the issue that he has pending charges, and that is fodder for cross-examination.
She is going to ask
Pending
about
charges,
pending charges.
and the relevance.
Motive to say something to get a good plea or something.
But you're not planning to ask about the underlying facts of those cases, just that he has them.
I have not fully determined that because we're still sort of trying to get documentation, but
What would be the relevance of that? I mean, that's,
seriously,
other than trying to get him to invoke the privilege.
no, but if he is saying that he is guilty of the charges and wants to curry favor in order to get a better deal, if he's not guilty of the charges, he doesn't have to curry favor to get a better deal. If he's concerned that he'll get convicted, all of that is fodder.
I don't think we have a basis to make any of those assumptions, Your Honor, with an individual who's already saying he's refusing to come over and be transported. Being able to ask an individual whether or not they have charges pending is certainly one thing, whether or not they thought they were going to get some sort of a resolution out of this. But with the facts that we have been presented with Mr. Hardy, with refusal to transport over here, the nature of whatever he is accused to do is irrelevant to the question of his credibility on the stand.
And you're, well, not sure I agree with that, but I don't want to wait till he gets on the stand. So we need to, I think we need to figure out who his lawyer is, see if we can get the lawyer here on Wednesday morning.
Or would you like to try to do it sooner, Your Honor? Would you like us to try to find out who that attorney is? And I know we have a very short time left today, but then be able to try to make contact with them today and provide the court with a further update tomorrow, so then potentially they could go and speak with Mr. Harju.
Yes. So what's his first name?
Michael.
Michael?
And
His date of birth is 9/5.
There we go. We're going to turn that off for a bit. Harju. Harja. Harju.
let me see, I may be able to determine who his counsel is in his current case.
Okay, so KT, that was a different one. This is a second witness that will possibly be invoking the Fifth Amendment. The judge is signing the order to compel him to be brought here Wednesday morning, first thing right now, but she says, I just want to make sure we don't drag him out here just to have him plead the Fifth again, like the other guy did. Not sure why we're losing this. Lee and Shells are here listening, so maybe they'll be able to gather something that we can't. Lee whispers to Shells something right now. Wow. So many witnesses, so many Fifth Amendment invocations. Okay, they're looking. How can you plead the fifth-year subpoena? You do not have to testify against yourself. You can't testify and incriminate yourself. Unless you want to. I mean, obviously, if you choose to, you can, but they can't compel you to incriminate yourself. And if you're testifying and answering their questions does incriminate yourself, say they ask you a question saying, how do you know that so-and-so was the drug dealer? And you're like, because I was buying from him. And you're like, oh, you've just admitted to buying drugs. We're going to prosecute you for that. He can say, I plead the fifth. Because I have a right against self-incrimination. Okay. Somebody should let Lee know we can't hear this part. There we go. Oh, I spelled here wrong. There. That fixed it because I spelled it right down further. They're probably in fear for their lives more than self-incrimination. Their Shells. Let's see if Pants can help us out too. Fear of the ish is reigning in this courthouse, apparently. Pants left at lunch. We can't hear either. They've turned off the microphones, apparently. Fear the ish.
Was going to be something that was brought up before, then we could have had it addressed in a 404B motion. I understand we're going to be dealing with it now, which is fine, but just pointing out it's another matter of something else that could have been taken care of before.
This, Your Honor, was a relatively late witness. After that, another witness came along, and we did it as fast as we could, and then we had to deal with another witness, and then we're pretty much in trial, and then it was my mistaken belief that they wouldn't be trying because he was refusing transport. So that was my mistaken belief, and so that's why nothing got filed even later. But I still think his testimony is not admissible.
Whoa.
How is this testimony any
late-
different than the court's rulings about,
Late motion.
for example,
to
when
exclude.
Josh Zimmerman's testimony was not connected to Guilford? When we originally thought his testimony wasn't connected to the Guilford Street address, or or had a temporal relationship to the charges in this case, the court had said that was then propensity evidence, and then the state got additional information from Mr. Zimmerman to connect to connect it to the address and really the time frame, and so then I said it is admissible. Here with Mr. Harju, it seems that there's no connection that the state asserts regarding whether or not the guns that we're talking about are the guns that are the subject of this case, and that's my concern. And I would say the same thing as I said with regard to the testimony of Mr. Zimmerman, which is if there's some connection to the theft, receiving stolen property of the guns that are the subject matter of this case, then in all likelihood, I would think that it would be admissible, but absent any connection, just some general statements about having guns or using guns. I guess I'm a little bit challenged to see why that's not propensity evidence.
I think there's two different parts to that. First part, I certainly see what you're saying with regards to that, and obviously you know that the state felt that with regards to Mr. Zimmerman, there was a connection that was there, especially with regards to the temporal proximity of the statement of having the previous AR. And then you asked us for clarification for him on the address. Was it Union Street or Prospect? Or what street, essentially, to Guilford Street? And he clarified and said, offered on his own to say that it was Guilford Street. So there is that difference that is there between that and Mr. Harshey. Mr. Harshey does not specifically go back to a particular location or to a particular date or month with regards to the defendant's statements about owning guns, possessing them, or having never been caught with them in his hands. However, the state still feels that with regards to those statements, they are admissible and sufficiently connected to his ownership of these guns here. Part of the conversation here, when we talk about that temporal relationship, is that with regards to the conversation with Mr. Harshu, it's the state's understanding that, and what our belief is that the conversation is about the current charges that the defendant is pending. Now, I understand, Your Honor, if you're indicating that there needs to be a supplemental or an additional, I should say, fact that conversation inside the jail about current charges was currently this charge, then I do not see that in the interview. So I understand that if you're saying that there's an additional, something else that you're looking for that Mr. Harshu was able to state, that these comments are about this particular current charge that's being tried right now, that is not in his statement. But we feel that is because it is about his current, that he is talking about the pending charges, it's a fair and reasonable inference to say that that conversation goes back to the charges that he is immediately facing trial for, which would be these charges.
And does Mr. Harshu say that when I was talking to Mr. Montgomery, we were talking about the firearms that he's charged with here, and Mr. Montgomery was saying to me, yes, I had those guns, I was selling those guns. Would he say that?
And that's exactly what I was saying, what I meant right there, Your Honor. I apologize for not communicating clearly. He does not. He does not tie that comment to specifically this charge, but he is talking about his pending charges. And I understand that there's a difference in sight of that, whether in the collective, this is something that can be referred to as opposed to in the individual charges. He does not say, and that's why I just don't want to misrepresent to the court.
Okay, I see.
He does not say that it is about these two particular guns that are being tried right now. He's saying that it is about the pending charges, and I have to assume that that is within the global sense of the things that the defendant is pending, not for this specific case.
And meaning he has two other cases that involve guns, right? And so what you're saying is if he has those cases and that his other case, the Harmony Montgomery related case.
Correct.
So all Mr. Harshu would say is we weren't talking about anything specific, just
his pending charges, and pending being all of the charges that you mentioned. So, as you said before, with regards to your previous ruling on Joshua Zimmerman, you were looking for a specific fact, a nexus that ties into these two particular cases. I do not see that Mr. Harshu has said a specific nexus of the defendant's statements to him about owning guns, robbing other people, having guns but never being caught, that ties to the specific case. But the state's standpoint is still that we feel that that conversation has a sufficient reasonable inference that the jury could make that it is referring to this particular case and that it should be admissible. But we understand what your court's ruling was with Mr. Zimmerman, and I can represent to you that that connection that you were looking for there is not present in his statement, but we feel it's still a reasonable inference. The alternative would be that the statement would be made and it would never be admissible for any of his particular cases because we couldn't narrow it down to one specific firearm or another. And so that's why we feel it's a reasonable inference to make here.
Say that last part again.
The inverse of the argument, Your Honor, would be that if somebody says this particular statement, but if it can never be tied to any one particular firearm, that would generally be used to keep what we feel would be a reasonable inference that he's talking about the guns at issue, and that statement would never be allowed to be used against Mr. Montgomery in any of his firearm cases.
But by the same measure, then it would be your view that that statement could be used in every trial against Mr. Montgomery.
As long as there wasn't some indicia that said that it went to a specific weapon, then yes, I agree. But generally, we would take that standpoint. You are correct.
Okay, but isn't that what 404B is designed to prevent? The idea that just...
Judge is pushing back.
Because he may have indicated that he did do that at some point in time, that should be used against him at all points in time?
And I think, Your Honor, if it was some point in time, as in some point in time in the defendant's past history, I might agree with you, especially if the defendant was saying, I've never possessed firearms, I've never owned firearms, I've never touched firearms. But we're not talking about some point in time, we're talking about specifics at a time of the pending charges that are here. So we would just see things differently.
Right, although we're talking about not a narrow point in time, right? The dockets 507 and 509 span a broader point in time, right?
Correct.
Like years?
I think with regards to, I think, Your Honor, between the nature of these offenses that are charged, it's a tight time window of 6 months.
Okay. Attorney Smith, do you want to add anything?
Yes, Your Honor. The inference that Mr. Harju was referring to pending charges is rebutted by Mr. Harju's own statement that Adam talked about, I keep getting charged with armed career criminal. He's not talking about pending cases, he's talking about cases keep coming at him. So I do not think that that's a reasonable inference, that this is 404B. It is not connected to these specific charges and should be inadmissible.
Can I see the statement?
Yes, sir.
I keep getting charged with armed career criminal, is what he told this Harju guy.
1584 and 1585, okay. I also have made a
Yes, public defender.
transcript that's not too much different.
Shells, if you can hear us, do the bunny ears on Lee. No, just kidding. No, don't do that. That would be disrespectful. This is whether or not they're going to exclude this next witness. That the judge was literally, she was writing out the order to transport him, to get him here Wednesday morning, and she asked the question. She's like, "Hey, I just want to make sure there's going to be no issues when he shows up." Turns out there are issues, and those issues run deep. There's just other logos. It's either me or logos that you get there. I can shrink a little bit if that helps. There you go. Shell's moved over for us. Now we can see Shells. And we lost audio again. Cameron's fiddling with stuff. Oh man, they got the memo. Okay, I think she's ruling right now. I don't know why we didn't get the audio here. can't hear. I think when they turn off that audio, it may be the court turning off the audio for some reason. Thank you, DSN, for gifting a membership. That went to Jill Sturgis. They're saying they can't hear either. They've turned off the in-room mics, so they're not going to transport Harju. Says Lee, not going to transport. She's not going to sign the order. So he didn't want to show up to court. He said, I'm not leaving my cell. The state tried to compel him just to get that statement. I believe that was the only thing they're trying to get out of him, was that he talked to Mr. Montgomery, Adam Montgomery, and Adam had told him that the state keeps charging me with being a career criminal. But they're not going to get that. Ish is different. Ish is not in custody. He is under subpoena. He was there. Shells told us that she saw Ish in the waiting room, or like out in the hallway, waiting to testify, like with his mom or something. No pants in the courtroom. It's I guess it's another live free sort of thing for New Hampshire. No pants. This is bad for the state. Witness has 2 or 3 witnesses. Our defense has 2 or 3 witnesses. I tell you, having somebody on scene in the court is so useful. You guys are amazing. No pants or die. It's not even Friday. It must be embarrassing. Hey, they're willing to take one for the team. Yep. They're fumbling a rock-solid case. Still no audio. Man. Closing Wednesday. So we're wrapping this up. It was expected to go the rest of the week. So now we have no Ish. What? I just don't understand where we're at. The judge could compel him to leave. She was writing the order that would basically give the jail authority to drag him out by his hair if they had to of the cell, handcuff him to a wheelchair and bring him on over. I mean, she has that power. She could do that. But as she was writing out the order, saying, okay, so Wednesday morning, I'm going to sign this order and hand it off to the bailiffs. Instead, she said, just want to make sure that there's no Richards issues. And I believe Richard's issues on this, I don't understand the reference entirely, but it sounds like issues where he has something pending that would cause him to plead the fifth, like previous witnesses have done. And it turns out that there are, and the judge, after hearing all the evidence back and forth and argued and what the statement was going to be.
Stipulations would be.
The state anticipated asking for the stipulation before the end of its state's case in chief.
Okay. And then in terms of, you're looking quizzically.
Which are you talking about? Because we already had one read into the record with regard to
the Facebook.
Huh?
The account.
The
Facebook account.
The Facebook.
That was one that was read.
Yeah.
We still
So
need to have
that-
the stipulation with regards to him qualifying.
Right.
Which I thought would be part of the instruction, that when you get to that other element, the parties use it as part of the instruction because it's a stipulation with regard to that element.
Right, so, but they want it before the close of the state's case.
Okay.
Which
okay,
I would
see
expect,
what-
and then that is my next question, which is, I can put it into the instructions. I don't think we should give them what we have. It has to be altered in any event. So there's a couple ways that we can do this. Obviously, I agree with the state's request that they would like it read into evidence prior to the close of the state's case. I will do that. Attorney Knowles or Attorney Agati, you need to ask me when you're ready to have that done. And then the question is, do you also want these stipulations either marked and to go in with them, or put into the instructions, or just read it in and that's the end of that?
With regard to the stipulation that the email address is to Adam Montgomery, I think that's been read into the record as evidence, so I think it's there and need not be exactly repeated for the instructions.
Okay.
I would just say, though, if you were thinking about putting a stipulation in the instructions, we might as well put them both in together. Otherwise, it starts to make it look like one stipulation is different than the other stipulation.
No, I think as far as the instruction, therefore the state has to prove defendant knowingly. And then as far as the third element, the parties have stipulated that he qualifies, he has the qualifying things, and you can take that as true.
If that's consistent with your practice, Your Honor, that's fine with the state.
Okay. Yeah, I've done it in, any number of ways. So I think we can include that. The Facebook issue is a piece of evidence. Doesn't directly satisfy an element of the offense, but so I think we should read it before the close of the state's case, and then if you want me to add it to the instruction under the elements of armed career criminal, I can do that as well.
That makes sense.
Okay.
I kind of think you have to, that you can't really do that particular instruction without it.
Okay, so I will do that. It's not in here now, but let me go give you what I have for the instructions. I've got to print them out. So is there anything else before I step off the bench for us to do that?
Just one moment. Thank you very much.
Okay, so I'll be back out in just a few minutes to give you these instructions. And as I say, they are drafts, and when we come in, maybe I'll have to come in a little early Wednesday morning in case there's something that you want to give to me. What I would say about them is if there's any edits or adjustments to them, or additional instructions that you want, share with each other, see if there's an agreement on a change or an instruction, so that when we do get down to talking about it, you either say, oh, here, we all agree that this is the way it should read, or we don't agree, and here are the areas of disagreement.
Do you want to hear an issue that I had thought of, and
No, we don't. Please say no, Judge.
be proposing something different than the norm is? You normally say punishment is not for you, it's all for me. Since there's mandatory minimums involved, I was going to suggest that you put punishment is for me to determine within the limits set by guideline limits set by the legislature, or something like that, because this is a mandatory minimum who the charges are.
But what we tell them, and I've addressed this before on an armed career criminal case, is that they are not to consider the punishment, and I think they're not to consider the punishment, and I'm going to stick with the standard model instruction on that.
Will you be saying that the punishment is for you to decide?
I already say that in my bifurcated instruction, so I have said that to them already. I don't usually say it again. If you tell me you want me to say it again, I can, but and that goes for the both of you as well, that the punishment in this case is not for the jury to be contemplating either. Okay, so
they should not be talking about the punishment.
So I will leave it where I will leave it where it is, as it is. If you're asking me to say it again, I could give them that model instruction again at the end. I don't have any strong objection or feelings about it one way or the other, but we're not going to be telling them about the minimum mandatory sentences.
No, my request is not to either say minimum mandatory or to give it again the way that you have it structured on the model. It was simply to, if you were to do it again, to do it with judgment is for me to decide based on certain criteria set by the legislature, not anything beyond that, not talking about minimum mandatory, but there is a limitation on it's not completely for you to decide. You have certain criteria that on 2 of the charges you have to make.
Well, that's true. That's true with respect to every charge, right? I mean, in every charge, the court has to consider what the permissible sentencing either obligations or requirements or maximum penalties are. I understand it's different, but the point is for the jury, that's not for them to consider. So absent, if you have some legal basis that you think I should consider, obviously I'll let you bring that to me. But I can tell you that I have considered that in the past, and I'm not inclined to say anything to them different than what the model instruction says. But as I say, if you have something specific you want me to, some legal basis you want me to consider, I'll of course consider that.
And so both sets, by the way, go back to the jury? Preliminary and final?
It'll go back, and I can give you, it'll go back as one, it goes back as one, 15-page document. And as I said to them at the beginning, I send 6 back, and then if they want 12, I give them 12. If you all just want me to send 12 back, I'm fine to do that. But, either way.
This is proper argument, what she's doing. It
goes back as one packet.
She's pushing the issue, but
yes.
This is not contempt.
Sure, nope.
I understand that. I was just, if you were going to only have one other housekeeping matter,
sure,
you might be able to start addressing some of that while you were in the back with jury instructions. And then you have drug court tomorrow with regards to, will that be conducted in this particular court? Or will you be in a different court?
We are going to do it in this courtroom.
So it states, just so that both counsel take our material, we'll start moving that material out of here now. We would like to obviously leave the screen up, the electronics, if that's okay with you.
That's fine.
And I was wondering, and I'm asking on behalf of both counsel now, would it be possible to have, for us to retain our conference rooms and have them locked tomorrow while we are not in trial? So that, otherwise we have to empty out everything that's been left in there. Is that possible?
I don't know, we can either do that, or I can hold drug court staffing in the grand jury room that I normally do. I was going to do it in here, but I don't need to, and there was a request to possibly do it in the grand jury room anyway, so then they could use this room. I don't know.
I think about public access to our rooms while either set of counsel are here.
Right. Can you lock those?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't have it. I mean, I certainly don't have any objection to it. We won't.
They have drug court tomorrow.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So for drug court, we just won't use them tomorrow. Yeah, unless there's something.
Okay, and we just lost the signal. It might be coming back. It might not. It may be done. Okay, we'll let's let Lee know. I think he's already seen that, but Lee and Shells are there. Might be coming back. Maybe not. It's all in black. So no court tomorrow. No, when we're done for today. So yes, we probably will do a police chase tomorrow. There's one I've been wanting to show you. That's not too old. That's a pretty good one. Hey, look at this. Live view. I ordered one of those. It's coming. It should be here already, but it's not. Anyway, let's see. Cameron's done for the day. He's like, I put in my time. We're finished. And yep, they've dropped the feed. The stream's closed. Okay. Here's what we'll say. Tomorrow we're definitely going to be meeting again in the morning. 9 a.m. start. We're gonna have a police chase. We'll probably talk a little bit of catch up on what's happened on this case. Excuse me, in the Adam Montgomery case. We're going to talk to Lee here in just a few minutes. Sorry, I have the hiccups. I don't know why. Pardon me. We'll talk to Lee and Shells here in just a minute as they're going to call in as soon as it'll probably take them about 5 minutes or so once court's done to get out of there. So if they're still going right now, even though the camera's off, it'll be a few minutes after that before they're able to leave the courtroom and be outside and be able to call. Ish may be on Wednesday because he was there today. So as late as today, he was on the schedule and planned to be there to testify. So it might still be on Wednesday, but I'm not sure. Drink water. That'll stop the hiccups. I drank all my water. I need to refill. You know what that means. Yeah, Ish is going to be pished. Okay, so hiccups are gone. We're good already. We'll have a police chase tomorrow. I was lucky to be watching on the toilet for the last one. Blair. I think we might even have 2 police chases. There's been a couple good videos that dropped from Arkansas recently. I've got to see if we can get a good clean feed. I need a connection in Arkansas that can get me some videos because the police will not release them to a non-resident. Believe that or not. They won't release the videos to a non-resident. Sore throat. Live View is a bonded cellular encoder. It's a device that weighs about 2 pounds. You plug either an SDI or a HDMI input into it, and it takes, well, in my case, it takes 4 different cellular modems and combines the available bandwidth into one big pipe, and allows me to send a 4K image to YouTube from wherever I have cell coverage, whether that's a courtroom or the middle of the forest. That's what it is. Let's see. Okay, just waiting for shells here. Ish has several pending court cases for guns. I wonder if they've decided for that same reason. Is he going to plead the 5th? Did all the witnesses just decide to plead the 5th? I think they have enough to right now that the state could rest and say, okay, we proved our case. It's weak on the stealing. It's probably stronger on the possession and selling. But stealing them is, man, all they've got is a little bit of hearsay. I guess from the defendant, right? If you drink from the chain fountain, that will surely cure your hiccups. The chain fountain is right here. I will show you the chain fountain. This is going to make a mess all over the floor, but I'll do this just for you. Familiar with Police Body Cam channel? It has all kinds of cool stuff. Yes, I'm looking for one that has a clean feed that doesn't have logos all over, because they like to hit copyright strikes for showing their logo, even though they don't own copyright on the video itself. Debbie, we might be watching the same channel. There's a good one out there. Are you guys ready for the chain trick? Are you watching for this? This is pretty good. Okay, so here's what I have. I have this little cup with the chain in it, and if I hope this works. It's not going to work very well because it's not very high up. It usually has. This is only about 3.5 feet off the ground, 4 feet off the ground maybe. And the higher you hold it, the better it works, but we're going to try it. Okay, so here's the idea. This little chain is made out of metal. It's one continuous chain. It's 100 feet long, and it's all just poured into this little solo cup, clear solo cup. And part of it is hanging out. One end is hanging out, as you can see right there. When I pull on that end that's hanging out, when enough comes out, the weight on the outside will overcome the weight of the chain on the inside, and the gravity will just take its course, and it will start siphoning itself out of the cup. But it will make a mess on the floor. I'm not going to show you that. That's not the interesting part. I'll clean that up. But what you want to watch is what happens at the cup, because instead of just going up and over the edge of the cup like you would expect, the chain starts jumping up higher out of the cup and not even touching the lip. So we'll give this a try. Let's see. Lee says he's going to call in a few. Here we go. Let's move this off the screen. Here's our science trick for the day. I'm going to turn on this audio so you can hear it. That sounds awful. Here we go. There we go. And the squeaky chair as well needs the WD-40. But that was it. You got one shot. That was it. I hope you saw it. But it does. It jumps up, and there's a whole reason they call it the mold effect. MOULD. He's the guy that found that. But I made a video of that and posted it on TikTok last year, and I got like 16 million views, which was just crazy. And it made me $600 in like 4 months. So yeah, that was science. You just learned something. Now today hasn't been a complete waste of time. Okay, now you can say that you watched this, you learned something, you saw science happen. That's magic. Yep, that's magic. That's what happened. Okay, Lee's going to be calling in here in just a little minute as they get out of the courtroom. It's going to be just a little bit. But let's see, isn't water supposed to be in the cup too? Water actually slows down the effect because then it has the friction of the water on the chain to pull up, and it makes it not work. Let's see, I was part of that 16 million views. Thanks, Professor. Yeah, I tell you, doing that trick for people who have never seen it before and seen their reaction makes it worth every penny that I paid for that ball chain, which I think was close to $70 with shipping and all. But it was I've done that trick for years, and they love it. And the first thing a kid does after they do the trick is they like, let's do it again. They want to grab the ball chain and just stick it back in the cup. And as soon as you touch that pile of ball chain and try to like grab it, it like magically ties knots. And knots in that chain are almost impossible to undo. And so I guard it very carefully. Looks like we've got a call coming in right now.
From
Lee. Lee, my friend, so good to hear you on the phone and see your call come in. How are you doing today?
We're doing good, although it was getting a bit rough there while defense was crossing.
That was so bad. So bad.
Yeah. First, I want to say I forgot to mention it before. When we were leaving for lunch, as we were leaving the courtroom, some reporter ran up to Shelley and I and asked if we were Kayla's parents.
And did you just run with that and be like, yeah, what questions do you have?
we totally should have just run with it.
You'd be on the news.
We didn't.
No, yeah, thanks. You did the right thing.
Well, speaking of being on the news, as we were just now leaving the courtroom, Matt from Court TV came up and was asking us about our interest in the case, and he says, Wednesday will be the big day, and he wants to interview us on Wednesday, so I don't know, we might do that.
Do you tell him you already have an exclusive with Recovery Addicts? No, I'm just kidding.
We did. Well, I don't know if I said exclusive, but we did say we're here sort of representing Recovery Addicts.
That's awesome. They'll definitely cut that part out of the Court TV interview, but I look forward to it. I'd love to see you over there on that channel, getting a little bit of time, because there's a lot of interest in this case, but as you know, there are not a lot of people in court. The public is not there. I'm not sure if the location just isn't convenient.
So I think today, like just the last session, I think there was basically no public in there except for Shells and I. There was sort of a somewhat different set of reporters this afternoon than this morning.
Yeah.
There clearly were reporters this morning that were there for Kayla. Mm-hmm. And this afternoon, I don't know if people were expecting Ish still.
Yeah,
but there was Boston. I don't know what's happening with Ish.
He was there. Shell said he saw
Matt
Ish.
Matt from Court TV seemed to think he was coming Wednesday, but
okay.
I don't.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
But it seems but I'm based on the speed of cross-examining, I'm amazed that they think they're going to be wrapping up a case by 10:30. If Ish is one of the witnesses, but who knows?
He must not have much to say. I mean, it's like, who's your name? Who am I? Ish.
But the defense attorney has a lot to say.
Unfortunately, she doesn't cover anything. I mean, it's like she talks for half an hour, and all she's done is saying, "Did you just testify to this?" Yes. Okay. No questions. No more questions.
Yeah, exactly.
Crazy. What was the? We heard a little bit about a motion. Sounded like a motion to exclude some evidence from Harju, which we thought he was going to get a motion to force him to come, and now it turns out the judge is saying no.
I think that's the way it worked out. So it was hard for us to hear too, because it was not being picked up by the mics at all. It sounded like, they were basically debating whether she would issue the order for transport, but that was based on whether he had, admissible evidence. And they were kind of arguing about the whole propensity thing or not, 404B.
Yeah.
And I think, and sort of the range of how narrow the range in time was for this propensity argument. If it was really close or connected to these addresses, then it was more likely to be admissible. But it sounded like she excluded it, so we're not going to see that witness.
And it sounds like Bernatchez, who was the guy who was going to plead the fifth, they probably sorted it out over the weekend. He's now just gone, I guess. He was going to plead the fifth. It wasn't going to be useful, so they struck him off the list.
We didn't hear that. All we heard at the beginning of the day, because we were expecting some 8:15 hearing or something, was that was canceled, and that we sort of heard rumors from the lawyers or something, or from other court reporters that they thought it sounded like it got settled over the weekend. And so yes, it may be settled the way you just said. Yeah. Either he wasn't going to provide anything useful or
I'm really surprised. First of all, I'm surprised that it went that way. I'm also surprised that our Kersey counter is still at 11. We have not moved that number today. I was expecting that to go up. It did not happen. Maybe Wednesday, with Ish, we've got a day of preparation. So we'll follow. We'll probably do some police chases or something tomorrow to keep you guys entertained and catch up on what we've missed there. But I'm still hoping for a big finish. Ish cannot disappoint. I know Ivan's telling me he's not to hold my breath, but there's been a lot of buildup for Ish. Everyone's scared of Ish, and now if he doesn't show, he's always going to be the boogeyman in my mind.
Yeah, well, Shell said she saw Ish out in the waiting area early. So I don't know what happened. It was just a timing thing today, or.
Yeah.
Right, so Matt said he was supposed to go today, but is expecting him Wednesday, so we'll see. Because, like you said, maybe it'll be a big nothing burger. Who knows?
Yeah. Do you think to you and Shell both, if we can poll you as members of the official gallery, has the state proven their case in this one as far as these firearms convictions? I'll tell you personally, I think that they've got some pretty strong evidence that he was at least in possession of them. I'm not sure if they have to prove that he stole them. That seems a little weaker in what I've heard so far. But
I think that's how I feel. That yes, I mean it seemed this morning when during I think it was redirect. Was that Kayla? I don't know. There was a point there where he did a really good, and it was Adam who possessed them, who was in control of them, and who stole them, and it was all Adam. That was, I thought, very effective. Bang, 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 and the jury was really keyed in on that. So I think they'll probably get their guilty. Is my guess.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, interesting. You and Shells both appreciate you so much, and obviously this is not common to have the level of access we do to you during court like this in New Hampshire. They allow you to text to us while we're watching, so it's amazing for us.
I don't know. I don't know if it's all. I think it might just be this judge, because there are signs all over the court building that say no electronic devices, but when we go into our specific courtroom, there's a sign on the door that says you may use your device as long as it's silent. So it may just be a judge thing.
We like her in that case. Yeah. Vote to retain her next time you get a chance. Oh, man.
Yeah, the other observation we had, which was sort of curious, was there's a lot of overlap between what we see in the courtroom here and what we saw in the preacher case. So obviously the prosecutor, but also the court reporter, I don't know what her name, some gallery officer, we call her the gallery mom. She was kind of organizing the gallery and bringing witnesses in.
Uh-huh.
She was there this afternoon. She's the same this afternoon, and Shell thinks one of the bailiffs is the same. Maybe both of them, which I find curious because it's a totally different county even than that other case. So,
Yeah. Well, Lee, with your experience, not just as a cameraman, and Katrina points out, and I think you mentioned to me in a text as well, the possibility of a press pass. That may be a possibility. I don't know what I need to file
I think
with
we just
the
need to
court.
fill out the paperwork. Yeah, we found the paperwork, and it probably would take several days to get it all filled out and approved or whatever. So it wasn't in time to do it for this, but
I would be open
we
to
might as
doing
well
that.
just do it and get it ready for a future thing.
You've got the equipment, you've got the experience to know what you're allowed to take pictures of and what you can't. The only downside is there may be a situation where if you do that, you're also then required to share it with any other pool photographers or media outlets there.
Yeah.
So as long as you're comfortable doing that, I'd love to put my name on the line and say, yes, he's my photographer. So
okay. Yeah.
That would be great.
There were 3 still photographers in there besides the video guy.
Oh, wow.
Today. And they had extremely noisy cameras. They were sitting right behind us going click, 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 click.
Shutter nonstop.
I can shoot silently. They cannot. They were not shooting silently.
Wow.
But anyways, it might be worth doing that and just having in case there's a future case that comes by. Well, obviously this could be a future case.
For sure.
There is a future case here that would have a lot more public interest. And
yeah, the murder trial is going to be a big one. That's going to be huge. Right. Well, I don't know what your plans are for Wednesday. We do appreciate you being there today.
I think we're going to come up because it looks like it could be the big day and wrap up.
Well, that would be awesome once again, and I can't wait. I'd love to see you both, on our channel as well as on Court TV, and be famous. Wear something that will, wear your favorite team colors or whatever it is, because you're going to be on TV. It'll be good.
That's right.
We'll have to get you an RA shirt. Thanks a lot, Lee. We'll see you later.
That's right.
All right. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right. Much appreciation to both Pants, Shells, and Lee, or all three, not just both, I guess, to Pants, Shells, and Lee for their courtroom observations and being able to feed us information. It's invaluable. Ivan, if you're still out there, I know you've had some thoughts on today's occurrences. I'm not sure if you got a minute to call in. Court is over for today. It is over, Mary. They ended early, very early. But here we are. So they're not going to be court tomorrow. We're still have our live stream in the morning. We're going to cover some police chases tomorrow. And we've got a doozy. Oh, I've got a doozy to show you. It's a good one. Anyway, we're going to do that, and then we'll catch up a little bit on trial. We'll look at some of the upcoming cases. We've got Scott Peterson coming up. I'm not sure how I want to cover that one with it being such a long case. Honestly, I'm worried about us just being bored out of our mind with a case that takes so long. I'm also a little concerned about how they're going to handle the evidence they present. If it's listening to evidence that's just like we're watching the Parkland shooter trial itself over again, that's going to be really hard. I don't want to cover something like that. But so we'll have to look at that and see how we move forward. Cat and Animal Lover BBE says, how impactful of the witnesses taking the fifth do you think it will be helping verdict outcome towards Adam's favor for Ivan? It seems like this judge did not want the jury to see witnesses plead the fifth. Let's see who this is here.
From Rebecca.
Hey, Rebecca, this is Recovery Addict. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
I'm doing just fabulous.
Oh, good. I got to watch 2 trials today. I just wanted to ask, I posted a little bit of the Daryl Brooks things as I was going, and just didn't want to do that if you preferred that I didn't. So
it's fine. We weren't going to cover that one today. I know Daryl Brooks had a hearing today. I don't know exactly how it went. I think they scheduled a court date for him, right?
And they announced the pretrial the offer, and he declined it. They were going to drop the 2 the safety charges and just do the possession, and he declined it.
He's taking his chances. Rebecca, thank you very much for that. I appreciate you keeping us filled in on that one.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure it was okay.
No, you're good.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
call from.
Ivan, my friend. Have you cooled down just a little bit? Thank you. First of all, thank you, Rebecca, for the call. Now, Ivan.
It's been a wild day in court, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been crazy. So much anticipation, and then nothing happened. And you've made some comments about that, about Ish, telling us not to get our hopes up.
Yeah,
my hopes are up.
Well, this is what I'm trying to pre-warn everybody. Like, I have to say, of all the times I've been in court and I've had legitimate outlaw bikers like testifying, not one time have I ever had a report that their mommy was waiting for them in the lobby. Okay.
Maybe that was his ride.
Like,
maybe he doesn't have his license or something,
Okay.
and mom needs to drive him. He just couldn't
what
afford
kind
an
of
Uber.
gangster doesn't have a ride? Like, okay, like, did you ever see Don Corleone getting a ride from his grandma? Did you ever see, Tony Soprano getting a lift from his, great aunt Linda? Like, come on. Like, what are we doing here? I think we are overestimating the impact of and this is what I said all along. I said this at the beginning of the day. I said, I feel like the hype for Ish is reaching a point that can never be satisfied and will always be, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, I feel we are reaching that point.
We're going to be let down no matter what happens.
Nobody's going to, like when you hear somebody over the radio and you never know what they look like and you have this image in your head of what they're supposed to be or what they're supposed to make up. And then you see them in real life and you're like, oh, dang, that guy looks like my shoe salesman. Or that guy looks like the guy who sold me insurance. Like, he's not the cutting edge, badass.
I know all about how a face doesn't match the voice. You're preaching to the choir here.
Oh, man.
But listen, the legend of Ish has grown to a level that we need something. We can't be Ishless. If they wrap up this trial, he's been every single witness has talked about.
Could you imagine if he doesn't even testify? Could you imagine if he doesn't even take the stand? How mad everybody's going to be?
I'd call to acquit just for that.
It'll be like the Sopranos season or series finale all over again, where nobody's happy, everybody's mad, and we all have questions.
Yeah. Yep.
I feel like they're baking this cake into something that cannot satisfy, and there were so many instances today where I just wanted to scream, like, how can that lawyer run us in circles so many times into a freaking marathon without having a finish? Like,
not just a no finish, but there was no substance. There was nothing new. There was no elicited testimony. It was just rehashing.
I've never seen a cross-examination where there hasn't been one original line of questioning. Not one. She literally repeated her deposition and her testimony of the day without inserting a single original question of her own. How does that fly? Like, what planet am I on?
And at least if you're going to do that, get some other words. Don't just say right. You could say correct.
Right.
Or you can rephrase it so it sounds like you're asking a different question. It's just sort of right. This is the point where you nod. Right.
And
right.
I wanted to conduct a poll. Like, does the chat prefer right or correct? After every sentence. Do we prefer right or correct? That would be the poll of the ages, right? Like,
I'm typing it as we speak.
Do we want to hear? Do you want to hear 1,000 rights or do
the poll is up?
Or 1,000 correct?
Ask and you shall receive, Ivan. The poll is up. Does chat prefer right or correct? Now, realize that when you choose this, it's the only thing you get to hear for the rest of eternity. This is how every question will end.
This is on your loop of hell. Like I told you, like when Adam gets to hell, and for all those like us who believe that's where he's going, you have to believe that this lawyer's testimony is going to be on a continuous loop for him to hear forever.
Yeah.
Like the stares and glares that he gave his own attorney, could be bedrocked into history, for goodness sake. Because do we know for sure if this is his lawyer for the murder trial? Do we know that? Do we not know that?
I don't know. Let's see. Hang on one second. I'm not sure. Sorry, I'm a little bit lost here because my audio isn't working the way it's supposed to.
Yeah.
Hang on. It was supposed to do this.
And I'm on a walk right now, so
Is that correct?
I can't see the
Is
chat
that
right now. I'm on a walk right now, but
I
do
don't
we
know.
know if this is the lawyer he's stuck with?
Here's what I'll say. Generally, when someone's been being arraigned on charges and they have other
Right.
charges already, they'll say we're going to assign a lawyer.
That's who they get.
But you're already assigned one, so we'll
Yeah.
stick with that one. But when it comes to murder,
Right.
murder charges are a little different. Not
Right,
every lawyer
yeah.
is a murder defense lawyer, right? And so that's the only thing I'm not sure of. He might be stuck with this lady for all his charges.
This poor woman, she should be knitting quilts, watching QVC. That's what this woman ought to be doing.
A couple of you.
Offense. That's not ageism. And, at some point, your run is over. You have to admit it. You have to hang it up. You just have to see the facts in the future and look at the mirror and realize what is up. Like, come on.
Yeah, a couple of you asked how she
I
passed
mean-
the bar exam. She actually was grandfathered in. The bar exam was not in place at the time she started practicing. No, her
she
style's
thought
a
the
little
bar
frustrating.
exam. She thought the bar exam was mixing an old fashioned and serving a Coors Light. Okay, that's.
I'm going to end the poll, Ivan, to see
That's
where
what
we are
she thought
before I let you off here, so we can see where the chat
All right.
prefers.
Where are we at?
Looks like, let's see, where'd it go? Correct, 72%.
Is that correct?
We get correct,
Oh,
and only
wow.
27%
3-1.
want
Wow.
right. So
3
correct
to
it
1,
is.
like correct, huh?
Yeah. Ivan,
All right.
we are still
All right, I love you
anxiously
guys. I'll talk to you
anticipating
later.
you having your own live stream, whether it's a podcast or live stream.
Hey, it's coming. I just have to get rid of this week. We have our town festival, which of course they tore up our whole downtown. Literally, they tore up our whole downtown a week before our town festival. Let me get this out of the way. I've been talking to Ricky Watson. We have something in the hopper. Just be patient, and it's coming to a theater near you. Let's
Awesome.
just say that.
Awesome. Sounds great. Ivan, thanks for calling and appreciate your perspective as always.
All right, love you guys.
Yep, love you. See you.
Bye-bye.
All right. Sandy, you stepped away. Ish did not testify. We're expecting it Wednesday. The judge has drug court tomorrow, so no court tomorrow. We will still be doing a live stream. It'll be the same time. I start 9 a.m. Eastern time. So wherever you are, you have to figure the math that way. But we're going to cover some police chases. There's a doozy of one we have to watch that is just pretty good. So we'll watch that. We might have a couple police chases if we can get them put together correctly. And we'll talk about a couple other trials. We'll talk about this one. We'll get people caught up with what's happening. But it's going to be a short day tomorrow. So plan whatever you need to do tomorrow. That'll be great for me because I have to go car shopping tomorrow, I think. That's the only time I can. I need to buy a car before next week because I'm going to be gone camping in it next week. So that's where we're at. So Ish probably on Wednesday. What is drug court? Just exactly what it sounds like. Pretty much a whole bunch of people charged with possession. A lot of very quick little mini trials. Also might be following up on other people's remote live stream. We will be doing a remote live stream. Greeners, I purchased. I'm not joking. I purchased that LiveView device. It's a bonded cellular. I purchased the LiveView Solo Pro SDI, which is sort of the top of the line for that type of equipment with 4 agnostic modems. Have you ever had an agnostic modem before? Well, they exist. They're modems that can hop carriers. So if it needs to go to AT&T instead of Verizon or something else, it can do that and switch. And so I will be able to do remote live streaming. That's the entire purpose of that. Will Adam be in drug court? I don't think so. All right, we're starting at 9 a.m. I start at 9 a.m. Little Miss, I'm not sure where you're at off the top of my head. If you're Eastern time, 9 a.m. is when we're going to start for the police chases tomorrow. And I know the notifications haven't been working very well for you, so let me know. So they have enough drug violations in New Hampshire, they actually have an actual entire day devoted to it. Yep, that's the case. Where do I find Friday's show? Elizabeth, if you go to the channel page and look under playlists and look under podcasts, or do you want the podcast from Friday night, or do you want Friday's show? I think, let me just double check and make sure we have everything in the right. See, content, live. It's day 3. So Friday would be day 2. Let me just make sure it's listed in that playlist. Oh, it's in the wrong playlist. That's my problem. Okay, I've put it back in the Adam Montgomery playlist, which should be visible. Save that one. Let me fix the other one as well to make sure it's right. Day 1 openings. Yep, I had it in Timothy Bleefnick's. We don't want that. Okay, done. Save. Okay, so Adam Montgomery has his own playlist, and all the videos from trials so far are in it, and you can find it there on the channel. If you want the podcast, it's just go to the podcast page. It should work. The show I think you mentioned you were interviewed in, that's the podcast. So you can search for the podcast. It has a picture of Thomas and my face on the cover of it, or on the thumbnail, and it'll be the last one. That's the interview of me by Thomas, who did a great job doing it. Drugs are a big problem in rural New Hampshire. Beautiful state, though. Sounds beautiful. We have to go visit. All right, I think that's it. Let's wrap things up. You guys have things to do today. At least you should now, because we've got time to do it. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate you joining the Court of Public Opinion. I'm a recovery addict. I like to call you guys all addicts. We're all addicted to the same thing, which is true crime, and it's wonderful. I enjoy sharing it with you. This is the best place on the internet to watch true crime, and it is because of you. But tonight, when you go home, please hug the people you love, smile at someone to make their day just a little bit better, and please stay safe till we go live again. It'll be tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. with some police chases. Buckle up. We're going for a ride. It's going to be a good one. I'll see you guys there. It's going to be great. Have a good one. Bye. We're not actually gone yet. We have somebody on the phone here who can help us. Who am I speaking with again? Just for the audience? Oh.
Johnny Strabler.
Johnny, welcome, by the way. You wanted to answer a question. There was a question about drug court for all the latecomers who are the early leavers. They're missing out on this.
Yeah, and I haven't actually seen it, but I saw the question come up. So in the county where I was working, drug court was a specialty with a special judge, and they handled the drug cases, but the sentences were actually learning. It wasn't necessarily you had to go to jail. That they would do community service, other types of things, and if they stayed on this program, I think it was for a full year, then it was struck off their record.
So the charges get
And,
dropped, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, the charges would be dropped, and it was a great thing. And where I worked in the drug court I was in, they would bring in some really interesting celebrity drug addicts, people you'd know. I mean, off TV and things like that, and they had been through the court system themselves. And in fact, two of them that came through it actually arrested originally back in the 80s and 90s, and of course, it was Old Home Week. But it's a great program. It really is.
That's cool. It sounds like, and honestly, when it comes to drug offenses, I think our nation has a long way to go as far as how we handle it. A lot of it, just throwing somebody in a jail cell doesn't fix it. It sounds like drug court is more productive and better for the accused. There's a fly bothering me here. Better for the accused than just getting
very, very much so.
But probably better
if
outcome.
they haven't had many offenses, and correct, if the families are involved at the end of the drug court, when the celebrities come in, they speak to the audience for, quote, graduation. There's a small little party, usually paid for by the judge out of his own pocket.
Oh, that's cool.
And it's a great program. It's a very good deal for people to do, and hopefully it sticks. I mean, drug addiction's it's pretty tough, so you really got to want to get off of it. So anyway, that's what drug court is, where I was working.
Thank you, Johnny. I appreciate that. That's a great insight. Obviously, that's not an area I have a lot of expertise in. So thank you very much. We'll see you guys tomorrow for police chases, and then Wednesday for court again. So appreciate you calling in.
If you got any questions on police chases, I did a ton of them. I'll tell you anything you want to know.
Sounds good. We might have to have you comment on some of them. All right, Johnny. Have a good one.
Not a problem, man. Get a hold of me.
All right. We'll see you. Bye. All right, guys, that's it. We're actually going to end this time. This is the real ending. The last one was the fake ending, but this time we're actually going to be done. So thank you, guys. Have a good one. We'll see you tomorrow. Turn the lights back off. Here we go.